Welcome, and thank you for standing by for today's conference. All participants will be in listen-only mode until the question-and-answer session. At that time, to ask a question, please press star one. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the call over to Andrew Schlack. Thank you, and sir, you may begin.
Great. Thank you, Melinda. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Schlack. I'm the Acting Program Manager for the CDFI program and Native Initiatives team in charge of administering the financial assistance and the technical assistance program. And today's agenda is for getting to know your fiscal year 2021 technical assistance agreements. And we should first start off by saying congratulations to everyone. We're thrilled that you received an award, and the purpose of today's webinar training is to help folks familiarize themselves with their assistance agreement. We understand that for a lot of people on the call today, it might be the first time you're entering an assistance agreement with the CDFI fund, and so we've got a great program today to help answer your questions, and several colleagues from different business units have joined me on the call as experts to help respond to any requests for information that you might have. It's followed first by a brief presentation and overview, and then we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. So joining me today on the CDFI and Native Initiatives team, Elizabeth Hoffman, who everyone probably would recognize Elizabeth's name. She pretty much coordinated the 2021 round, so the awards that you received for technical assistance, Elizabeth had oversight over the administration of the round this year, and so we're really happy to have Elizabeth joining us. Janet Koch, who is on the team, Janet will be familiar to folks who may have put in a modification request. We'll talk a little bit about modification requests if there are any questions about those on the call, but Janet's on the line to answer those calls. Thirdly, from the CDFI Native Initiatives team is Sharon Johnson-Theodore, who is coordinating all the closings on the assistance agreement. So if you have questions about certificates of good standing or authorized representative titles, you're probably going to recognize Sharon's name. And then we're very grateful today to be joined by Mia Lane, who's with the Office of Compliance Monitoring and Evaluation. And Mia is the expert to answer any questions that folks might have around reporting schedule or other aspects of the award when it comes to compliance and monitoring. So that's the team that we've assembled to help answer questions today. And I'm just going to move through with the agenda. And at this point, with the presentation topics, pass the ball over to Elizabeth Hoffman to take us through today's agenda. Elizabeth.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. So one thing I want to highlight for folks is that today we will be reviewing a subset of slides. The presentation topics you see listed here, there's a slide deck of, I think maybe 30 or 40 slides that is available on our website. When you go to the program page, it's whether under CDFI or NACA program, it is the Step 4 section. So this full presentation, all the slides are available there, but we're going to be hitting some highlights today and then leaving plenty of time for your questions and answers. Next slide, please. So a quick overview. The assistance agreement document is the legally binding contract between us, the CDFI fund, and you, the awardees. The different terms will be based on your institution type, award type, what you submitted in the application. For FA, it could be other things such as matching funds, but we don't have to worry about that for TA. And please note you must execute this assistance agreement prior to receiving your initial payment. Next slide. We will be hitting on the following key components. There are annual reporting requirements and their associated deadlines, the performance goals and measures, authorized activities for the award funds, as well as general award terms and conditions. Next slide. We can't stress this enough. Please read your entire assistance agreement. Recipients, if this is, you might have some from past funding rounds. The terms and conditions can change from year to year. All of the reporting requirements, DG&Ms, associated deadlines are very important. You want to keep a copy of your assistance agreement on file. And we recommend that you create calendar reminder with due dates for your reports and whatnot. The reporting schedule is in the assistance agreement as well as your award record schedule in AMIS. So you have those two different sources to go to make sure you are on top of your reporting. Next slide, please. I am now going to turn it over for a bit to Sharon Johnson-Theodore, who will talk a little bit about how you get your assistance agreement signed on your end. Sharon?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everybody. We are so excited that you are new awardees. We want to let you know that your assistance agreement must be signed by an authorized representative who is listed and active in your AMIS account, and that information can be reviewed in your organizational profiles and looking at your contacts. The authorized representative must have the legal authority to enter into the assistance agreement and have the title to reflect that leadership position with the authority to sign legally binding documents on behalf of your organization. Under no circumstances can consultants sign the assistance agreement on behalf of the recipient organization. Next slide, please. This slide is of great importance, particularly as a person who was processing over 800 plus RRP assistance agreements. On the left-hand side, you see the recognized signatory titles, and I won't go over those, but please pay special attention to those. Those are the ones that will not have to have any additional follow-up, and so we feel like those certainly in any organization convey the authority. On the right-hand side, you will see the titles that will require follow-up. So although the persons listed on the right-hand side may be authorized representatives in your AMIS profile, these titles don't necessarily convey the authority to sign legally binding documents on behalf of the organization. And what we would encourage you to do certainly is to go in, review your persons who are listed as authorized representatives, review the titles. If the titles have changed, please go ahead and update those in the AMIS account so that we can see them when we go to verify that. And also, if the title remains the same, so for example, board member, and that board member is an authorized rep and is responsible, or you have designated that person to be able to sign legally binding documents on behalf of your organization, we ask you to please be proactive and go ahead and load that documentation, whether it's a letter from your board on your letterhead, indicating that this person who's an authorized representative does have the authority to sign legally binding documents, and you would need to attach that in the award record under the notes and attachments section. Next slide. We also want you to review the assistance agreement very carefully before signing the document, because you will be responsible for fulfilling all terms and conditions and have the responsibility to meet the deadlines therein. And also, we will contact your authorized representative if any additional information regarding the assistance agreement is needed. I'll turn it back over to Elizabeth.
Great, thanks, Sharon. So this slide highlights the assistance agreement process. Everyone probably has already gone through step one, receiving the email notification that your assistance agreement is available. There might be one or two groups in the middle of processing name change requests is the only reason I can think of that all TA recipients other than that should have received your email that your assistance agreement is available. You will then log into AMIS, review your assistance agreement, sign it electronically, and submit any required documents. From there, it comes back to our end. We complete a compliance review for any prior award recipients. From our compliance department, it comes back to our CDSI NACA team. The program manager will countersign the assistance agreement, executing it. Then the payment process will begin. Step 5 is you will receive an email notification that this countersigned cover page is available in AMIS. And then I believe it's I'll have to double check with my other teammates on the timing, but I think it's up to 2 weeks later you will receive the initial payment from the agreement. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple of screenshots here. I realize this text is really tiny, but it is bigger in your Real Assistance Agreement. This is the cover page. A couple of key parts highlighted here is your award number. That's what we'll be using to refer to it. The announcement date, I believe for PA awards, was September 16th, 2021. So that is the date of the period of performance start date. This part on the bottom with the signature blocks is what will be updated in the signed countersigned cover page after it goes through the process. Next slide, please. You are a depository institution holding company that will be carrying out your activities through a subsidiary depository institution. That information will also be identified on your cover page. And then for all applicants, all recipients, I should say, your total award and your initial payment that you requested in your application are also reflected on your cover page. There are some different schedules in your assistance agreement regarding reporting deadlines and whatnot. We're going to skip ahead to talking about the performance goals and measures, which are Schedule 1C. These are the performance benchmarks that a recipient needs to meet in order to remain compliant with your agreement. Note that these are, a key portion of compliance, but another aspect is also the timely submission of your reports, and then if applicable based on your financial institution type, having unqualified audit opinions or absence of material weakness findings in your single audits. So the technical assistance agreements have 3 possible PG&Ms, and your assistance agreement will contain the ones that are specific to your organization. All recipients will have Goal 1, depending on what type you are. It might be 1-1, 1-2, or 1-3, but this is the goal about the actual expenditure of the award, that you must spend it for the purposes set forth in the agreement. There are 2 components to this. The first is that you must spend 90% of what you requested as the initial payment in the first 12 months, and then you must spend the entire award. For most of our CDFI recipients, that's $125,000. For most of our NACA recipients, it's $150,000. That you must spend that entire award within the whole period of performance. Goal 2 pertains to our NACA groups. If you are a sponsoring entity, one of the purposes of the program is to establish the legal entity that will be certified as a CDFI. Again, that's only applicable to our NACA sponsoring entity groups. And then Goal 3, if you are not yet certified, Goal 3 will have to do around submitting your CDFI certification application, which if this is your first award you're getting, that'll be at the end of your second period of performance, and then becoming a certified CDFI, which if this is your first award will be at the end of your final third year period of performance. So this is a screenshot showing what that first goal and measure looks like. You'll see the PGM number will be there. Either it will be 1-1, 1-2, or 1-3. There's the description of the PGM, and then the applicable threshold. So where it says the X is there will depend on what you requested for your initial payment and your total award. Keep in mind that initial payment request. If it's looking like if that figure looks a little high to you and you haven't signed it yet, that can be modified, which we'll get to in just a minute. Sharon is now going to go over a couple of these items regarding to receiving payments.
Yes, we know that. Thank you, Elizabeth. We know that payments are very important to you, and we want to make sure that you get your funds. So to receive your payments, a recipient must electronically sign the assistance agreement and upload all the required documentation, for example, the certificate of good standing. I'd like to reiterate again, electronically sign your assistance agreement. We have received some service requests about folks signing it and trying to PDF it and attach it to the record, but it must be electronically signed through the award record. The certificate of good standing must be from the Secretary of State for the state of your formation. So we have some organizations that may be headquartered in a state and their branch may be in a different state, but the certificate of good standing must be from the Secretary of State from your state of formation, and it must be dated 180 days prior to when the assistance agreement is signed by CDFI. You must maintain all compliance with the terms and conditions of any prior award from the CDFI fund. And of the utmost importance, we need you to verify your information in SAMS. That is different, a separate system from AMIS. You can have information updated in AMIS, but it is your SAM account. Probably 97% of payment issues that we have is because the SAM account is not updated. So I can't stress enough, please, please, please check your SAM information and make sure that it is updated, or your payments will be delayed and it will be out of our hands. We cannot process the payment unless that SAM information matches what is in AMIS. Also, if the entire amount of the award is not dispersed in the initial payment, then you must submit a subsequent payment request at least 30 days prior to the end of the period of performance. So that's how you get your additional payment, by submitting a payment request through your award record. And I will turn it back over to Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. We'll take a moment to review the authorized TA activities. There are 7 to 8 categories of things that you must spend your TA award on. They are the compensation, whether for personal services or fringe benefits, training and education, travel, professional services, equipment, supplies, and for our NACA sponsoring entities only, may use part of the TA award towards the corporation costs of their new legal entity. Make sure you look in your assistance agreement, sections 3.8 and 7.9, some more helpful pieces around allowable uses of the TA activity awards. So if you have not yet signed your agreement, if it's not yet been executed, you do have the opportunity to request a modification to your assistance agreement. It lays out how you would go about doing this in section 7.9 of the assistance agreement. Well, sorry, that's for the amendment. So if you haven't signed it yet, you can request a modification. If it does get signed, you can request an amendment. And that is done in either case through a service request form in AMIS. One example that I gave earlier was perhaps things have changed in your organization since you submitted your application last year, and if that initial payment amount is looking like, gosh, you're not sure you could spend that in this year, you could request to modify the amount of your initial payment would be one example of something that you could request a modification of. So please know that the CDFI fund approves modification and or amendment requests on a limited basis, and recipients should not assume that they will all be approved as submitted. Okay. Our additional information will be continued to be posted on www.cdfifund.gov. As I mentioned, this presentation, there are more slides to it. The full presentation is available on that Step 4 closing and disbursement page of both the CDFI program and the Native Initiative sites. And if you have questions about the general terms and conditions, reporting requirements, or allowable uses of funds, please go ahead and submit a service request in AMIS. That's the fastest way for us to process your questions.
Elizabeth, I'd like to also interject that when the recipients submit service requests, please make sure you link your award to the service request for tracking purposes. We have recipients who have multiple awards, and sometimes it's very difficult for us to ascertain the award you are referencing if it's not linked to the award, or you don't have some type of verbiage that tells us which award you are inquiring about.
That's a great point. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, when you are doing your service request, there's a little space where you can select or input the award number. and that will definitely help us expedite your request sooner. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We are now going to turn it over to the operator, who will provide instructions on how to do questions and answers, and we will have a live Q&A session.
Thank you, and we'll now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, please press *1. Please unmute your phone and record your name at the prompt. To withdraw your request, please press *2. Once again, please press *1 at this time for questions. One moment, please, for questions to come through.
And Melinda and folks, this is Andrew. As the first couple of questions are queuing up for a response, Elizabeth shared that these resources are available on the CDFI Fund website. And while the questions are coming in, I'll just quickly navigate there on the screen. So underneath Programs and Training, if you go to Programs, and then you go to the CDFI program, or if you have a Native Initiatives, there's a parallel structure underneath Native Initiatives. But for simplicity, I'll just go to the CDFI program, and then as pointed out underneath Step 4, Closing and Disbursement, this is where all of the resources for the 2021 assistance agreements and closing process will be posted, including links to today's webinar once that's published. So if you have a colleague who is unable to join today and you just want to reference this presentation, you can go there. And then particular for CDFIs who are not yet certified, I know every year we get a bunch of questions. You know, one of my PG&Ms is that I do become a certified CDFI. The program team, as part of its application assessment, vets your ability to become a certified CDFI as part of the award-making process. But the business unit that actually gives certifications is a different business unit, and they have a series of very, very helpful webinar trainings that occur on a monthly basis. I'll just navigate there. They've got their schedule posted. So if you're not yet certified, you're going to have a PG&M in your assistance agreement about becoming certified. And again, if you navigate underneath Program, Certification, CDFI, this is the landing page that you get to, and it will take you through this steps. And you can see that they have a series, they're reoccurring monthly conference calls. And so the January 20th one just happened. The next one would be February 17th. So I just want to, as we tee up for questions today, if there are specific questions about, you know, becoming a certified CDFI, we're going to table those. And suggest that, you know, this call is really around executing the assistance agreement. If there are questions about your assistance agreement, we'll be able to answer those, but we'll defer to our colleagues in the certification business unit about questions specific to becoming certified. And then the other types of questions that we'll end up tabling and ask folks to submit a service request on is if there are specific questions about your assistance agreement that you're thinking about modifying. If it's not to the benefit of the entire group on the call, we're going to ask you to submit those via a service request. So just a little more context for the types of questions. And Melinda, at this point, we're ready to answer any questions that folks might have.
Thank you. And currently we are showing no questions, but once again, to ask your questions, please press *1 at this time and provide your name. One moment, please. And questions are coming through. One moment, please. Our first question is from Janice Wasserman. Your line is open.
My question is this: can we start to spend our money prior to actually getting the money prior to the assistance agreement being signed, since the start date of the project is actually September, or do we have to wait to spend it until we receive it? In other words, we'd be reimbursing ourselves.
Hi, this is Elizabeth. Sorry, this issue with my mute button.
Okay.
Yes, that's a great question. It goes back to the date of the announcement, September 16th, so you can begin spending or counting activities that you are currently spending on as part of what will be your ultimate award.
Okay, so we can hire somebody if we're going to hire somebody and start to spend that money, start to pay them now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Currently showing no questions, but once again, star one at this time for your questions. One moment, please. Next question is from Karen Makarowski. Your line is open.
Hi, thank you. A question about the modification requests. If our application for a technical assistance award specified the cost to be allocated across usable expenses and circumstances have changed, are we permitted to request a modification of how those expenses are now to be allocated, or do we have to conform to the original application?
Great question, Karen. And actually, you don't. So what is required through the assistance agreement is that you spend the funds on any one of those 7 or 8 allowable costs, from compensation to travel to equipment. If your plans have changed since you submitted the application and you want to, instead of hiring somebody, buy some new equipment, as long as it's within an allowable cost, you don't need to ask us or tell us or let us know that your plans have changed. We're just holding you to those costs as listed in the assistance agreement.
And that's for the TA award?
For the TA award, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
That would not be a modification request. That would just be, you could assign your assistance agreement, and then you would be spending your TA award on an allowable use as specified in the assistance agreement, and that would be fine if it was different than what you thought in your application.
Perfect. Thank you.
The next question is from Brian Jenkins. Your line is open.
Hi, I'm Brian Jenkins, and I had a question about, you said update your SAM every 6 months. I don't go into SAM that often, and not every 6 months. And I thought you said verifying is the same information in Amos. I don't know where to put my banking information in Amos.
Hi, this is Sharon. In terms of, I'm talking about your contact organizational information. The banking information is located in SAM. But in terms of your organization name, that has to match in Amos what you are putting in SAM, along with your banking information that you have updated in SAM. Thank you for that question, so that I could clarify that.
The next question is from Katrina Goen. Your line is open.
I have 2 questions. Hi. That subsistence payment request, where can we find that?
Find how to do it, how to perform it? Yes. You can go to the cdfifund.gov website, and up at the very top it has tools and resources, and then you can click on Amos as well, and you should see the subsequent payment manual. You can also submit a service request, and we can send the subsequent payment manual to you.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question was, if we got the TA award and we're not a depository institution, does the Office of Legal Counsel from the CDFI Fund have to contact us in order for us to sign our assistance agreement?
This is Andrew. Your question, so the Office of Legal Counsel would not be contacting a recipient directly. Is there something specific to your organization?
No, I just read in one of the manuals for the assistance agreement, I saw that they get in touch with you for a deposit, but I wasn't sure from the wording if it was for depository institutions or if it was because we were going to get a deposit for getting our TA award, which is going to be in the form of a grant.
Yeah, there's no expectation, just to clarify, there's no expectation that the Office of Legal Counsel of the CDFI Fund is going to contact any recipient directly. So if there's a reference that you're referring to, it would be good to know about it, but just to clarify for everyone on the call, that's not part of the assistance agreement closing process. So it might be, I can help you interpret some language, but just to be clear that that is not a requirement or an expectation of closing the assistance agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Currently showing no questions, but once again, please press star 1 and provide your name at this time for questions. Once again, star 1. One moment, please. Next question is from Zimbabwe. Your line is open.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first one, in terms of allowed expenditure, it says personal services. Does that mean employees? Does that mean consultants? Or it's either or both? And the next one is in terms of the allowed folks who can sign in on an organization, it's VPs and above. Do I still need to get a letter from the board and upload it, or is just they can just sign it with no issues?
This is Elizabeth, and I can answer your first question regarding the allowable costs, the compensation, personal services. That would be the category you would consider if you were funding your own employees. And then there's professional services is another category, and that's what consultants would fall under. So both are allowed, and when it comes time for reporting, they'll be in separate categories. And Sharon, I will let you answer the question about the authorized representatives signing the assistance agreement.
Thanks, Elizabeth. This is Sharon. Thanks for your question. If the title is listed on the left-hand side and it is an appropriate title, they can go ahead and sign the assistance agreement. It is only those titles or something similar to that was listed on the right-hand side that we would require additional documentation to demonstrate to us that that person has the ability to sign.
The next question is from May. Your line is open.
Hi, this is May from California, and I had a question about allowable costs. We've invested heavily in online platforms for our lending program. I'm wondering, are those allowable, and what category would they fall in?
Hi, this is Mia. Thanks for your question. What I would suggest that you do is to review the uniform administrative requirements to see what is unallowable and allowable under that category.
Okay, uniform allowance, what is it?
Uniform administrative requirements. Is there like a specific cost that you're looking at?
Well, we've started to use online applications and various underwriting tools that are online through different platforms, and I wanted to make sure that those costs could fall within the TA assistance agreement.
So that should also be listed under the eligible uses of cost in your assistance agreement. So I would encourage you to also review that section of your assistance agreement as well. The uniform administrative requirements is something, if you do a Google search, you can find that on the internet. And then if you can't find that information, I would suggest that you submit a service request, and then someone can provide you additional guidance.
All right, thank you.
The next question is from Amadis Cressel. Your line is open.
Hello. Can we have 2 authorized representatives for the institution or just 1?
Hi, this is Elizabeth. You may have multiple authorized representatives in AMIS, depending on your organization type and structure. We recognize some organizations are larger, so you can designate folks as authorized representatives in AMIS. And then a note that to sign the assistance agreement, the person must not only be an authorized representative as far as the AMIS system contact type is concerned, but that person needs to have legal authority to sign documents on behalf of your organization. Does that answer your question?
So we can add another authorized representative who will sign the agreement?
If you have, say, the president and then a vice president are both, you can have them both in your AMIS account and both designated as authorized representatives. And if they're both able to sign legal documents on behalf of your organization, then either one would be able to sign the assistance agreement in AMIS.
In our case, we want to add the CEO who will sign the agreement.
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Once again, please press star 1 at this time for questions. One moment, please. Thank you for standing by. We are showing no further questions.
Well, great. We'll give maybe a couple more minutes to see if any additional questions come in. We're always happy to answer questions. The team's done a great job today explaining, introducing a lot of new concepts for folks. Again, just a friendly reminder, the best way to get a hold of us when we're not convening webinars is to submit a service request through AMIS, and everyone can do that through their AMIS account. So if something comes to mind post this webinar call and you'd like to submit a service request, again, the details on that and how to request any changes or modifications to your assistance agreement or questions of that nature can get directed and routed most efficiently through the service request system. And Melinda, do we have any additional questions?
We may have one coming through. One moment, please.
Great.
Baba, your line is open.
Hi, I had one last question regarding the expenditure. It says, pursuant to Section 3.8 of Schedule 2, in an amount equal to or greater than, then it lists 90% and then 100%. I'm assuming we can spend at least 90% in the first year, but I'm not sure why it would say equal to or greater than 100%.
This is Andrew. I can answer that insofar as eligible expenses. If you get your entire award up front, you may have exceeded, if I'm understanding your question correctly, more than 100% that you would then report. So I think that's the language you're referring to. We could look specifically at your assistance agreement through a service request, but in general, that is the language that is articulated as far as equal to or greater than 100%. Does that clarify?
I'm not sure. Maybe you can help me with the first question. Does that mean we can spend, if it says we need to spend in an amount equal to or greater than 90%, does that mean we can spend all 100% of it in the first year?
Yes, that is correct. And you just want to be mindful, so you're going to have a performance goal that requires you to expend at least 90% of your first payment in the year one of your period of performance.
Okay. How would we be able to expend greater than 100% of the total award, though?
You would only report more than the 90% in year one or year two. You're not going to be able to expend more than you actually received by the final year of your period of performance. Okay. So that's only applicable if it's in the first or second year of your award, or if you have a TA award in year one.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Next question is from Jordan Garrow. Your line is open.
Hi. My question is in regards to the Certificate of Good Standing. We are a credit union located on a Native American reservation, and we're not incorporated in any state. So is there some kind of alternative document we could get from the tribal government in lieu of the Certificate of Good Standing?
Depending on this is Sharon, thank you for your question. Depending upon your specific status, the Certificate of Good Standing, if you're a regulated entity, would not be applicable. If you are an unregulated entity, we have put, I believe in the documentation, that you could get something from your tribal government indicating your status.
Okay, thank you. I believe since we're regulated by the NCUA, that should suffice.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, we are showing no further questions today.
Okay, well, we should do a last call for questions. Again, we're thrilled to congratulate everyone on receiving a 21 Technical Assistance Award. We're really excited. This was a record number of awards granted out for technical assistance and financial assistance. And, you know, challenging times require a lot of creativity and dedication, and we're just amazed at all the great applications that came in. We're very, very pleased to be able to support all the great work. And again, if there are additional questions about closing on these agreements, we'd love to get the resources to your organizations as quickly as possible. So following today's call, there's nothing precluding groups from entering their assistance agreements. Just be mindful of everything we've covered today. And again, if there are additional questions that come to mind after this call, the best way to get a hold of us always is through a service request in AMOS. And Melinda, I'll just do one last check for any additional questions.
Thank you, and we are showing no questions at this time.
And if not, we can adjourn. Thank you once again for everyone's participation. Congratulations, and have a great day.
Thank you. That concludes today's conference. We do appreciate you attending. You may disconnect at this time.